The tension was undeniable from the moment Prince Harry stepped onto the Piers Morgan Uncensored set. Cameras flashed as the Duke of Sussex arrived in a crisp navy suit, escorted by tight-lipped security. It was a rare live appearance, and the world was watching. Social media platforms buzzed in anticipation. This wasn't just any interview. This was Prince Harry versus Piers Morgan, the man who had spent years publicly criticizing Harry and Meghan, often with brutal precision. Even before the first question, you could feel the unease in the room. Piers opened with what seemed like a civil tone, but his words were laced with barbs. "Prince Harry," he said with a faint smirk, "thank you for joining us tonight. Though I have to say, surprising choice, given your distaste for the press." Harry didn't blink. "I'm not against the press. I'm against media personalities who distort the truth and monetize lies." The first shot had been fired. Piers chuckled. "Well, considering your Netflix doc, your memoir Spare, and your Oprah interview, some might say you're cashing in quite nicely on those truths." Harry leaned forward, his voice calm but clipped. "Every word I've shared publicly has been from lived experience. If telling my story helps others find the courage to speak up, then I won't apologize for it." But Piers wasn't backing down. "You've thrown your own family under the bus. You've painted your father as a distant parent, your brother as aggressive, and the monarchy as a racist institution. Where's the accountability for your own role in all this?" The audience was silent, hanging on every word. Harry's eyes narrowed. "You think this is about blame? My family had the chance to stand up for us. They stayed silent. We were left to face hatred alone. You left." Piers snapped, the smile gone. "You walked away. From duty, from tradition, from the British people who supported you for decades. And now you sit in California playing the victim." Harry's jaw tightened. "We left for survival. You can't understand the kind of relentless intrusion and abuse we faced. Meghan was on the brink. I feared for her life. For our child. And yet here you are," Piers said, voice rising, "on my show, seeking more attention. Is it really about mental health and safety, or is it about staying relevant?" Harry's expression darkened. "I'm here to confront people like you. People who twist pain into headlines. You don't get to claim journalistic integrity while fueling hate." That struck a nerve. Piers stood up slightly in his seat, tone now openly confrontational. "I report what people are thinking. I hold people accountable. That includes royals who trade their crowns for cash." Harry, now visibly agitated, shook his head. "You don't report truth. You stir division for ratings. This isn't accountability, it's exploitation." The live audience was still quiet, eyes darting from one man to the other. The atmosphere had thickened with every exchanged word, and producers off stage were nervously watching the monitor, unsure whether to intervene or let the spectacle play out. Then came the breaking point. Piers interrupted Harry mid-sentence with, "You know what your problem is. You want the platform without the responsibility. You want sympathy without scrutiny." Harry slammed his hand on the armrest. "And you want power without conscience." Boom. Gasps rippled through the audience. Someone in the crew whispered, "We need to cut," but the director held firm. This was live, raw, and viral gold. Security began inching closer to the stage. Piers snapped, cut his mic. "He's done," then turned to the camera and declared with icy confidence, "Prince Harry has left the building." But Harry hadn't moved yet. He stood slowly, eyes burning into Piers. "I came here thinking we could have a conversation. But this was never an interview, it was a trap. Good luck living with that." He turned and walked off, ignoring the calls from producers and the flashes from phones already recording. The clash was over, at least on screen. But its shockwaves had just begun. Backstage, chaos reigned. Studio assistants raced around with earpieces buzzing, producers shouted conflicting directions, and Piers Morgan's staff tried desperately to contain what had just happened. But the genie was out of the bottle. Prince Harry's storm off wasn't just a moment, it was a media detonation heard around the globe. Harry, visibly rattled, ignored the commotion behind him as he made his way through the narrow back hallway of the studio. His security team flanked him tightly, ushering him past gawking crew members. "I knew it," he muttered under his breath. "I knew this would be a bloody ambush." Outside, a sleek black SUV waited with tinted windows and a driver already holding the door open. As Harry climbed in, his phone buzzed, "Meghan Markle." He answered without hesitation. "I saw it," she said immediately. "Are you okay?" He sighed. "He twisted everything, cut me off at every turn. It was a setup." Meghan's voice steeled. "Let them talk. We'll respond, but not their way." Meanwhile, Piers Morgan was still live on air, now basking in the attention as the studio cut back from commercial. Alone in his chair, He shrugged dramatically and faced the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed was Prince Harry having a royal meltdown. He came here claiming he wanted a serious conversation, but the moment I held him accountable, he stormed off. This, I suppose, is what modern royalty looks like." Within minutes, clips of the confrontation flooded social media. On TikTok, the hashtag Harry vs Piers had over 10 million views in under an hour. Twitter or X lit up with reactions ranging from condemnation to celebration. Public opinion was deeply divided. Some users slammed Piers for what they called an orchestrated ambush. Major networks ran the story non-stop. Sky News called it the most explosive British media moment in a decade. CNN labeled it a royal implosion on live TV. Headlines from The Times to TMZ painted competing pictures of heroism and humiliation. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry's Archewell team released a formal statement just hours later. As the media world chose sides, insiders at Buckingham Palace reportedly watched in silence. No official comment was made, but sources close to the royal family suggested King Charles was disheartened but unsurprised. The next day, Harry appeared in a brief, pre-recorded video posted on Archewell's YouTube channel. Dressed casually and seated beside Meghan, he looked directly into the camera. "There's a difference between tough questions and personal attacks," he said. "We can disagree, we can debate, but we cannot keep normalizing hate and calling it journalism. We came to speak our truth. Some people aren't ready to hear it." The video ended with a quiet fade out and the words, "When they shout, we stay grounded. When they twist, we stand firm." The moment cemented itself in media history. Whether it helped Harry or hurt him would depend on which lens the public chose to view it through. But one thing was clear, this was not the end of the story. This was just the beginning of a new war between legacy media and a prince determined to reclaim his voice.